Well, White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain tweeting a recent opinion piece that says 2021 was not such a bad year, arguing the Biden administration is more honest, more competent, and mostly scandal-free. Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley says this simply is not true. Here's what he wrote on foxnews.com, quoting media and Biden administration cover up these three scandals. In scandal-free year, if there is no coverage, there is no scandal. I want to put the three scandals you're talking about up on the screen. One, you're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, the Biden family influence peddling, and the Ashley Biden diary.
What I object to is the inverse of what we've seen with the Biden administration. You know, starting with the Hunter Biden laptop, of course, you had Twitter and other companies banning anyone who even talked about the laptop, even though the Biden campaign never denied it was Hunter Biden's laptop. They just wouldn't confirm it. But people that were mentioned in those emails came out and confirmed their authenticity, but the media had this blackout, and the concern is that this creates a de facto state media, that there aren't any scandals if nobody covers them.
The amount of irony coming from Fox News saying this is absolutely astounding. Because let's be real, when the media tries to portray Joe Biden's presidency as some sort of success, we all know that's a pathetic joke. Joe Biden at this point has failed to deliver on basically every campaign promise that he's made. But instead of focusing on the real scandal and controversy, that is, Joe Biden having lied to the entire American public about what he was actually going to do as president, they have decided to focus on three irrelevant stories.
You're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, the Biden family influence peddling, and the Ashley Biden diary.
Instead of talking about Joe Biden lying about canceling student loans, they'd rather talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. But there's also another layer of irony in this. And that's of course the fact that Fox News was actively trying to cover up for Donald Trump and everything that he was doing with his presidency. Because we all know that there's a lot of nepotism in Washington, D.C. We know this. But really, Donald Trump took it to the next level. I mean, Donald Trump had his kids in and out of the White House like mad. And he was obviously using the presidency to personally profit. The real frustration here, though, is the fact that we know that basically everybody in Washington is already doing this. I mean, do we really need to look at Nancy Pelosi's trades on the stock market? We all pretty much know that elected officials in the United States really love laughing at the idea of corruption and ethics. So there is something to be said about the media being a little bit unfair to Trump in that sense, but in reality, it's not that the media shouldn't have criticized Donald Trump, it's that the media should be criticizing everybody. And that's why Fox News is coming in saying, oh, look, this is all basically state media. But literally, who is Fox News to talk in this situation? I mean, seriously, the job of Fox News is to give complete cover to any ridiculous thing that any elected Republican says. Fox News literally bends over backwards to invent these fantastical narratives. But what you'll see here is something that's very important. Fox News uses the essence of a real critique, which is Joe Biden's presidency has failed to deliver, and turns that into, and here's the real conspiracies we should be focusing on, instead of actually talking about the real problem. What Fox News does as an entity is it takes critiques that have some level or basis in some degree of truth, and then warps it and uses it to take it in an extreme ridiculous direction. The sliver of truth is that economically working class people are being left behind. But Fox News uses that to propagate a bunch of racism, xenophobia, and just random attacks against Democrats. They can't really explain what's going on because that would mean pointing out the fact that capitalism is screwing us all over. And last time I checked, Fox News really loves capitalism. We also have to factor in the fact that Fox News is one of the largest television networks and have a huge audience. And when they complain about the mainstream media, that's them. That's literally, it doesn't get more mainstream than Fox News.
Yeah. You know, I want to go on because the Hill op-ed also writes the following here. Let's be honest, 2021 wasn't all bad. It goes on to say the Biden team is more honest, also more competent. More honest, more competent. I don't think we talk about things like the president saying Build Back Better is totally paid for, but it's interesting because it goes back to an op-ed you recently wrote about the president having this tendency to indict people, to convict people without due process, like the Border Patrol agents who he said whipped the Haitian immigrants. And, it goes on from there to Kyle Rittenhouse.
And then this part is where it gets even more ridiculous, and Fox News is trying to create the most absurd narrative here. Notice how he used the word indicted and convicted. Can a president do that? Does a president indict somebody? Does a president convict somebody? The Department of Justice can try to indict somebody, but then it's going to go to a grand jury. And a conviction is something that happens in the courts. And they're saying, oh, convicted with no due process. When in actuality, they're just talking about public statements. We can all make public statements, but a public statement is not an indictment, and a public statement is not a conviction. And what's more infuriating is the fact that the reality is Joe Biden is not doing enough to prosecute people who are, for example, working in ICE and breaking the rules and treating people horrifically. That is what Joe Biden is doing. But these clowns on Fox News have decided to turn it into some sort of cancel culture narrative about Joe Biden overusing his power, when Joe Biden is not using his power. Joe Biden is slow rolling all of the investigations into January 6th to the point where he's not even going to be in office by the time anybody is in front of a jury, or at least anybody significant. Joe Biden isn't pursuing serious charges against any of these individuals, which he has the power to do. He can tell the Department of Justice to take these things seriously, which, by the way, thanks Obama for giving us Merrick Garland, who is absolutely failing as Attorney General in every conceivable way, which, by the way, to all the people who really loved Obama, you need to understand something very, very important here. When he picked Merrick Garland was near the top of a list of Republican potentials for Supreme Court nominees. That's not really a smart play, it turns out. And now it's having a real material impact on whether or not the people that tried to stage a coup a year ago are actually getting prosecuted. This is what compromises do. These Republicans will take your compromises as evidence that you're a failure and use that to create a conspiracy theory that is utter nonsense and to drive their audience into these nonsense beliefs about the world. And when liberals fail to provide any type of structural critique or analysis of why people are going hungry and left homeless today, then the only option that people have to go on to are the lizard theory style conspiracy theories that Fox News puts out. And then they wonder why Joe Biden's unpopular. But this is how Fox News runs. They take a small sliver of a critique that is correct, which is to say that the media is being far too kind to Joe Biden, who is failing to deliver on his promises. And then they're turning that into complete nonsense in order to get people to support an extreme reactionary political movement, all while liberals continue to pretend that everything is fine. This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to stay up to date with my content.